Let's talk about Cats 2019. I've seen Cats 2019 4 times, which is not a lot of times to watch a movie. However, when it's Cats 2019, it is a journey to watch Cats 2019. And I don't mean one of those journeys where you come out changed for the better. Maybe. I was changed. It is exhausting to watch Cats 2019. When Cats first came out, I saw it twice in theaters, once before the digital enhancement and once after, and I'm pretty sure nothing changed, and then I watched it twice at home. I bought Cats 2019 with my own money. I was obsessed. I spent hours consuming as much Cats content as I could after I saw it in theaters. So, 2 videos. I wore my friends out talking about the problems Cats 2019 had. But there's something I've noticed after watching Cats 2019 4 times. Cats 2019 just gets worse. It falls apart the more I watch it. And since nobody else in my life cares about Cats 2019 as much as I do, I decided to make a video talking about everything I found wrong with Cats 2019. I'm not going to talk about the same problems you see everybody else talking about when they mention Cats 2019, like humans with CGI fur, but some of the things I talk about might stem from those problems. Some of my critiques come from the fact that I've seen the stage show of Cats. When you adapt something from one medium to another, you can't do a one-to-one translation of it. What looks good and works well on the stage might not translate that well on film. That doesn't mean I have to think the changes that they did for the film were good or the right choice. One change they made for the film that I dislike is that they made Victoria the character who we're going to see the world of Cats from. I personally don't think that Victoria should be this character. I think it should be Grisabella, but I'll delve into that more when it's relevant. I'm going to be nitpicky. Some things I just think are bad and they shouldn't be looked over. I'm only going to talk about the singing in 1 or 2 places. I'm not a vocal expert, so I can't really talk about it. I'll give my honest opinions, but outside of that, I'm not going to come for anybody's career. I'm never going to be the first one to say an actor can't step outside of their box and try something new. My lighting's going to be terrible. This is the low-budget experience, and I don't have the editing know-how to fix it in post. Anyway, let's move on to Cats 2019. The movie, the journey, the experience. Cats 2019 starts with a shot of a car going down a street and various shots of cats crawling around on all fours. In Lindsay Ellis's video, she talks about how the original choreography of Cats was meant more so to evoke a feeling of felineness than actually be feline. By the way, I'm paraphrasing this. Go watch the video if you want her exact words. In Cats 2019, we see humans actually crawling around on all fours. I don't necessarily hate the choice to have individuals crawling around on all fours. My problem with it is that it isn't consistently used throughout the film. This is the most crawling around on all fours we'll see in the whole film. Most of the times after this, the cats are walking around on 2 feet, but because it's used so inconsistently the times that we do see cats crawling on all fours after this, it's honestly really funny when it shouldn't be. So after this opening, we're introduced to Victoria, who is abandoned by her family, and we go straight into the opening song, Jellicle Songs for Jellicle Cats. My issue with this song stemmed from the fact that I'd seen the stage show. And the stage show, it's kind of implied that all cats are Jellicle cats from the song The Naming of Cats, where it's implied that basically every cat has a secret name that only they know. In the movie, Victoria isn't a Jellicle cat, so my assumption that this was a song about Jellicle cats being sung to a Jellicle cat was wrong. However, I still do take somewhat of an issue of this being sung to a cat, given that the opening lyrics are you blind when you're born? Do you see in the dark? I don't know. I'm not a cat person, but aren't all cats blind when they're born? Why are we asking this of a cat who would have been born blind? Okay. The other thing about this song is that they sing a wrong note. In the stage show, the singing of the wrong note is a joke. When they sing it wrong for the second time, a boot drops from above stage, and it's supposed to be this funny moment of a cat wailing at some god-awful hour in the middle of the night, so you throw something at it to get it to shut up. It's a gag you see in cartoons all the time. In the film version, they take out the joke, so for absolutely no reason, they hit a wrong note. Twice. This next one I didn't think about until probably my 3rd or 4th viewing of the movie. Victoria starts singing the lyrics to Jellicle Songs for Jellicle Cats. And at first, if you're not really thinking about it, it just kind of makes sense that the main character would be singing along. But if you think about it just a little bit, this is a song we were singing to her to explain what a Jellicle cat was, because she's not a Jellicle cat. Why is she singing the lyrics? Okay, I said it was gonna get nitpicky, and this next thing is nitpicky. At the end of the song, we haven't really established what the Heaviside layer is. It's a one-off lyric in the song that you can really easily miss if you aren't paying close attention. But at the end of the song, we're all standing on a statue, singing up to the sky, which, if you know, they're singing to the Heaviside layer. But if you don't, they're just singing to the sky. We're gonna pause the hate train to talk about something good that Cats 2019 does. And what they do good is establishing Macavity. So after the first song, all of the cats scatter, and I think a cat might shout Macavity here. Sorry that I'm not getting into specifics. I'm not going to sit down and watch Cats 2019 again for this. I'm just not going to do it. Famous last words. I immediately watch Cats after doing this. After all the cats scatter, we cut to a shot of Victoria standing completely alone in the streets, which is good, because she doesn't know who Macavity is, so she wouldn't know why they scattered. And then we get a close-up again of Victoria, and Macavity is there now. This is good for 3 reasons. It establishes that Macavity is somewhat magical. He wasn't there in one shot, then he's suddenly there in the next. It establishes to the audience that Macavity is not a good cat, hence why all of the cats scattered. It tells the audience that the cats know who Macavity is, either on sight or because of some feeling that he gives off when he arrives. The fact that this is really good is ruined, though, because it just doesn't matter. It's immediately thrown out the window. Okay, we're gonna skip ahead a bit to probably the line I hate most in the entire movie. So Macavity leaves and the cats come back out, do other stuff, but basically the Jellicle ball and the Jellicle choice is brought up, and Victoria is like, what's the Jellicle choice and how is it made or whatever. Again, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not gonna watch the movie a 5th time. Victoria asks how the Jellicle choice is made, and Monkey Strap says they all sing a song about themselves. And here's why this is stupid. Monkey Strap saying this makes every song in Cats 2019 from here on out diegetic. A brief rundown of what diegetic versus non-diegetic means. Diegetic means it's happening within the universe of the movie. When Christine in Phantom of the Opera sings Think of Me, that's an actual performance she's giving within the universe of the movie. Non-diegetic means it's not happening within the universe of the film. Think of any background music that's probably not happening in universe. More specifically, this is why it's a bad line. There's something in musical theater that I'm just going to call a phenomenon. When I go to a musical, I expect there to be singing. I anticipate that characters will break into song and dance. It's part of the appeal of a musical. I didn't need an explanation for why the cats are singing songs about themselves, Tom Hooper. I think this is in response to a lot of people's, first criticism of Cats being like, oh, well, why are they singing about themselves? But I really don't know. Baby's first criticism of musical theater, why is Cats cats and why are the cats singing about themselves? From here, we're gonna move on to the Gummy Cat song, or basically the introduction of Jenny Anydots. I have nothing against Rebel Wilson as Jenny Anydots. I think she does a fine job. I really can't complain about her. What I hate about Jenny Anydots is that they turned her into a joke. This is also where we start seeing a lot more literal translations of stage to film. In the stage show, Jenny Anydots is an elderly and well-respected cat, and her lyrics talk about how she teaches the mice to knit and the beetles to do a tap dance, which segues into a really cool tap dance. In the movie, she's clumsy and she's walking around and getting herself hurt. And she's honestly kind of gross, which I'll get into that a little bit more later, but she's just, as I said, she's just turned into a joke. Also, they stopped the song dead in its tracks multiple times. The first time is for a literal translation of something on the stage show where the cats are pantomiming the mice that Jenny Anydots talks about in their song. We stopped the song dead for Jenny to pull back a curtain and reveal CGI mice scatting. I'm gonna get a little bit nitpicky here again, but in both film and stage version, Monkey Strap sings this song almost like a love song. And when you're watching the film version and just seeing Jenny putter around and kind of make a fool of herself, it's just really kind of a moment of like, this is it? This is the cat you're serenading us about? This? After the CGI mice, which I'll throw a picture up somewhere so you all can see what the CGI mice look like. We pick up the song again, only for then it to eventually stop dead in its tracks once again for the cockroaches. And the cockroaches are our segue into the tap dance, but the tap dance just loses all of its energy because the cockroaches are on a micro scale, so you can't even really see what they're doing. And also, like I said, the song kind of stopped dead for its reveal, so it's just more so a scene playing out for a few seconds. Also, Jenny eats 2 of the cockroaches. I have no idea why, and I don't know if it's supposed to be funny, but it's just horrifying every time I watch it. And then Jenny Anydots unzips her skin. I have no idea why this happens in the movie, except for that's what happens in the stage show. In the stage show, it's this more whimsical, fantastical way to change costume on stage, so that way she can just get straight into the tap dance. In the movie, I don't know why they just didn't have her in the tap dancing costume. Like I said, all I can figure out for why this happened in the movie is because that's how they did it on stage. This isn't the only time she unzips her skin either. From Jenny Anydots, we move on to Rum Tum Tugger, and I will say another nice thing about Cats 2019 is Jason Derulo as Tugger. I enjoy the energy he brings to him, and by God, he breaks his back carrying the song. I enjoy Tugger's song in the stage show, but for whatever reason, I just don't enjoy it in the movie. There's some sort of change they made to it that I just don't care for. Again, that was nitpicky of me, but I already made the disclaimer, so I'm not sorry. The other bad thing about the song is there's just some weird moments of CGI feet or just something going wrong with the green screen. I'm not exactly sure what it is. And just like in Jenny Anydots' song, we're gonna stop it in its tracks 2 or 3 times so we can cut away to Rebel Wilson, who's cracking jokes about Tugger. Because she's jealous that he's getting attention or something. This is nitpicky of me, and I apologize for this one because I've had 2 in one segment now. But is Tugger competing to be the Jellicle choice? He's singing a song about himself, so why doesn't McCavity kidnap him? I didn't mention it because we haven't reached it yet in the movie, but the plot of Cats 2019 is McCavity stealing the Jellicle competitors so he can be the Jellicle choice. This is the plot they gave Cats 2019. I don't think it's executed well at all, but what can you do? We're going to stop the hate train again for another good thing about Cats 2019, and that is Jennifer Hudson. I really enjoy her as Grisabella in both renditions she does of Memory. If you watch Cats 2019, watch it purely for Jennifer Hudson. With that being said, we're back straight onto the hate train. First things first, Grisabella is supposed to be sick and dying. This is what motivates her to want to become the Jellicle choice and to seek forgiveness and redemption from the rest of the cats for the actions of her past. Literally, one of the lyrics in the song is the postman thought she ought to be dead. Grisabella does not look good, and anybody who sees her knows it. In this, she's just sexy young Jennifer Hudson. With Grisabella's entrance, though, we sing the song Grisabella the Glamour Cat. And my issue with this is we're singing this song straight to Grisabella, the Glamour Cat. In the stage show, this song isn't sung at Grisabella. It's more so sung as she's walking away, and it's implied that it's being sung about her to, explain to the audience who this cat is. In the movie, we're just singing it straight to her face. Also, Jennifer Hudson at the end of this crawls away on all fours, and it just is always funny. I never do not laugh when Jennifer Hudson crawls away. Come back, Jennifer Hudson. Come back. I will say, though, that a good thing Cats does about Grisabella is they expand on why the cats don't like her. This is something in the stage show that's never really elaborated on, and after I saw it the first time, I did actually have to go and read up on why they didn't like her. Basically, the reason the cats don't like Grisabella is because when she was young and beautiful, she was a jerk, and she abandoned all of the Jellicles. In the movie, we just openly state that the reason we dislike Grisabella is because she abandoned them for McCavity. After Grisabella, we go straight to Buster for Jones. I actually really enjoy this song in the film. It's a fun little ditty, and I think James Corden as Buster is wonderful. However, like Jenny Anydots, what I hate about Buster Jones in this movie is that they've turned him into a fat joke. We stopped the whole song dead at one point just to make a joke about how he's too heavy to launch him off of a seesaw that he's standing on, and there's a whole moment of him being sensitive about his size. Basically, laugh. Laugh at the fat man. Laugh at how we cannot launch him with one scrawny little cat. The other thing is it's also just a really gross song. Throughout it, Buster Jones is gorging himself just on garbage and rotting food, and it's getting all in his fur, and he's like rolling around in the trash, and he's in trash cans that are just covered in gunk and slime, and there's actually like a little part of the choreography is wiping off Buster Jones and all of the filth that's on him. In the stage show, Buster Jones is similar to Jenny Anydots in that he's a well-respected older cat, but he's respected because of his size. His size means that he's well-fed and well taken care of, and he's even dressed in a nice little tuxedo and spats to reflect that. And then you see him just like rolling around in the filth and honestly kind of being a jerk to his little butler cat. And it's just like, why? This is the cat who's the talk about town? Why do we respect him? That aside, we stop the song dead so we can cut to Jenny Anydots being kidnapped by Macavity. My beef with this is, remember how I mentioned earlier that Cats did a really good job of establishing that Macavity was not a good cat, and that he was magical, and that the other cats didn't like him? Yeah, this is the part where all of that gets thrown to the wind. Jenny Anydots talks one-on-one with Macavity and does not recognize him. Jenny Anydots doesn't realize it's Macavity until he points at a poster of himself. Anyway, she gets kidnapped, so we go back to the song. I'm not sure at what point in the song it is. I just know that it's at the same point as the I'm sensitive about my size joke. To restart the song, James Corden actually delivers a pretty good joke. Buster Jones is too heavy to be launched by one cat off of the seesaw he's standing on, so he says, "Alright, let's gather up a few of the cats," and he looks at the camera as he says cats, and it's honestly a really funny moment that I enjoy. It's also an admission that this is just weird. So yes, it's a funny joke, but I'm basically being told by the creators of the movie that it's weird. At the end of Buster Jones' song, Macavity appears as Buster Jones is about to jump into a trash can full of food, and the song stops. And the cats recognize Macavity, and a few even prowl up to the trash can to get ready to do something. I'm pretty sure it's at this point that a cat shouts Macavity. And Buster Jones recognizes Macavity. Macavity taunts Buster Jones, and he just jumps into the trash anyway and gets kidnapped. And in this moment, it's not the cats not recognizing Macavity, it's the cats recognizing Macavity and not caring. To which I ask, why go through the trouble of establishing that Macavity's a bad cat and that we need to avoid him if we're just not gonna care? After Buster Jones gets kidnapped, Victoria's completely alone, even though we just saw cats with her like 3 seconds ago. Doesn't matter now, she's completely alone, which is our segue to the introduction of Mungo Jerry and Rumpleteazer. I hate this version of the song. I read once that apparently it's similar to the original West End production of the song, but I don't care. In the stage show, it's a fun, upbeat song that shows off their acrobatics and how well they work together, and in the movie, it's this slow, sexy jazz number where Mungo Jerry thirsts after Victoria. People were not kidding about how thirsty this movie is. And even for Judi Dench at some points. My main beef with this song is the fact that at the end of the song, a vase falling over is what alerts the dog in the house, and so all three of them go into a panic, and Mungo Jerry and Rumpleteazer escape, and Victoria gets caught, and Mistopheles has to free her. Why I take issue with this is because throughout the song, they're destroying the house. At one point, they're in the dining room throwing plates, glasses, and silverware off the table. Why did none of this alert the dog? After Mistopheles saves Victoria, we go back to the kidnapping plot where we find out Macavity is holding Jenny Anydots and Buster Jones hostage on a boat on the river Thames. Thames? And while I think the kidnapping plot is poorly executed and kind of stupid, what I do appreciate about it is that it gives us Growl Tiger, and he gets to sing a fun little song called The Terror on the Thames. However, if it meant not having a kidnapping plot, I would happily sacrifice Growl Tiger. Griddlebone is also on the boat, but I didn't notice her until my 4th time watching the movie, which just shows a bigger issue that Cats 2019 has. Cats 2019 just does a poor job of establishing who is what cat. And while some cats are less important than others, I think the fact that Griddlebone being mentioned later is in the song, but you having no idea which cat she is kind of an issue. Off the boat now, Victoria and Mistopheles reunite with the rest of the cats for the revival of Old Deuteronomy. Oh, also Skimbleshanks is here now. I once read an argument talking about how the fact that some cats wear clothes and others don't isn't an issue for Cats 2019. I disagree with that. Skimbleshanks is an example of why it's an issue. Skimbleshanks is in the background wearing a bright red conductor suit, and aside from the fact that red is a color that tends to draw the eye, clothing up until this point has been used to denote cats of some sort of importance. Jenny Anydots had her tap dancing outfit, Mistopheles has his magical jacket, Old Deuteronomy is going to have a great fur coat, Macavity wears a hat and coats. So Skimbleshanks being in the background wearing clothes immediately tells me that he's a cat of some sort of importance, and he becomes a distraction in the scene because I'm sitting there trying to figure out who this new cat is. This isn't the only reason some cats wear clothes and others don't is an issue, but I think it's a pretty big one. Judi Dench is here now, starring as Old Deuteronomy, who I'm going to call Old Dude because it is more fun. I said I wasn't going to talk much about the singing, but I will say that when Judi Dench is here, every time she sings, she does some sort of weird speak singing thing, and it hurts me. Judi Dench's arrival as Old Deuteronomy is our segue into a huge dance break, which is an instance of where the choreography in this movie is done horribly dirty. I noticed it first in Buster for Jones, but I think this scene exemplifies it the most. A lot of the times, the choreography we see is only ever really in the background. A lot of the times it's a focus on a specific individual or close-up shot, so we can't see a lot of the really specific work that individuals are doing. And I think that's a shame, because from the glimpses that I catch, the choreography seems really interesting. Oh, also this dance break gives us CGI feet for Victoria, which is another reason Kat's wearing clothes and others not is an issue. Victoria's actress is a prima ballerina, I believe, with the Royal Ballet. So throughout the movie, when she's dancing, they're frequently having her do ballet or some form of it. At times when Victoria is dancing, especially for moves that would have been on point, you can see where they've put CGI feet over the ballet slippers she would have been wearing. Why can't Victoria just wear point shoes? At some point during the dance, Grisabella arrives, so we cut away to establish that Grisabella is here, and then we subsequently chase her out of the dance. At the end of the dance, Victoria leaves the building, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think she might have been overwhelmed, but basically for plot reasons, Victoria needs to be outside so she can see Grisabella sing Memory. That being said, the next song in the movie is Memory, and I have absolutely no problems with Jennifer Hudson's rendition of Memory. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of the film. Beautiful Ghosts immediately follows Memory, and I hate this for a number of reasons. I don't hate Beautiful Ghosts as a song. I think it's fine, and I've listened to it on multiple occasions when I've been doing some sort of work. However, in terms of a song within Cats, it just doesn't fit. It's so out of place among the rest of the repertoire that I just honestly dislike it in the movie. The other reason is that any emotional impact Beautiful Ghosts could have is completely lost because it follows Memory. Grisabella is the emotional core and climax of the movie. She's the one the viewers are sympathetic with. We want to see her succeed and get a new life and be the Jellicle choice because she's actively dying over the course of the show. You know, aside from the fact that she's young and sexy and Jennifer Hudson. Beautiful Ghost's lack of emotional impact because it follows Memory is the reason I think Grisabella should be who we follow instead of Victoria. It also doesn't help that Victoria's song is about how all she wants is to be wanted and to find a place where she belongs. After her initial abandonment, Victoria immediately finds and is accepted by the Jellicle cats. So she's singing to me about how she wants acceptance and a place to belong when she's already found those things. I'm sorry, Victoria. I have no sympathy for you when there's a cat who's literally dying. After Beautiful Ghosts, Old Dude sings Moments of Happiness. My main issue with this is that Old Dude doesn't witness Grisabella singing Memories, and instead witnesses Victoria singing Beautiful Ghosts. In the stage show, Old Dude witnessing Grisabella sing Memory is what kickstarts her redemption. It's why when she comes back for the reprise, he reaches out to her because he wants the other cats to see what he did, because he forgives her. In the movie, it's fine that this doesn't happen, but I just think it's an important character beat and narrative moment that gets lost because Victoria is our focus. Victoria goes back inside, has a little moment with Old Dude, and anyway, it's time for Gus the Theater Cat, who is played by my man's Ian McKellen. Gus the Theater Cat, in the grand scheme of Cats lore, is done so dirty. When I first saw Cats 2019, I very much got the feeling that Gus wasn't really all there. Like maybe he was suffering from some form of dementia or Alzheimer's. In the movie and in the stage show, Gus is very much an old and ailing cat. He's the level of sick and dying that Grisabella should be if she wasn't young and sexy Jennifer Hudson. In the movie, you see this cat who's like basically dying, and he just gets completely side-shafted for Grisabella. Sorry, Gus, better luck next time. I have two nitpicky things about Gus in terms of his lyrics. So in the stage show, the start of Gus's song is sung by Jellicle, and she sings "Gus is the cat at the theater door." We do away with this in the movie, and so instead Ian McKellen just sings "Gus is the cat at the theater door," and then he just does not sing in third person for the rest of the song, and I really want to know why we just couldn't change the lyrics to "I am the cat at the theater door." It's the same amount of syllables. The next thing isn't necessarily something I hate, but something I just find very funny. There's the lyrics in his song that uses the words "the these kittens, and it's the equivalent of kids these days aren't taught the way they used to be. But when Gus says these kittens, the film cuts to these full-grown adults, and it's just funny for reasons I shouldn't have to describe. After Gus's song, he gets kidnapped by McCavity, and it's time for Skimbleshanks, played by my man Stephen McRae. So I will say I do enjoy Skimbleshanks' song. They turned it into a tap number, which I have mixed feelings about because Jenny Anydots' song was supposed to be the tap number, but we ruined that. Stephen McRae does this really cool tap routine where basically he sounds like the chugging of a train, and if I can find a clip, I'll put it in. If not, just watch Cats 2019 to watch Stephen do this tap routine. However, this is the song with the infamous transition to the train tracks and everyone going, why are they dancing on train tracks? Cats are not that tiny. And the reason I bring this up is because suddenly everyone is wearing shoes. Once again, some cats wearing clothes and others not is a problem, because why could they all just not wear shoes before? Why are they all just suddenly wearing shoes now? Just let them wear shoes. Please, I beg of you. This is more just a minor detail and not a big grievance I have, but why does Skimbleshanks want to be reborn? Jenny Anydots, I believe, says something along the lines of how she wants to get out of her house. Busterford Jones wants to be reborn skinny so he can get fat all over again. Gus is dying. Why does Skimbleshanks want to be reborn? Is he tired of trains? I bet he's tired of trains. Maybe he'll be reborn as a boat cat and he can chill with Gravel Tiger. At the end of his song, Skimbleshanks gets kidnapped, and it is probably like one of the funniest exits / kidnappings of the entire movie. How Skimbleshanks gets kidnapped is he does, you know, the ballet spin where they spin forever, and he spins up into the air and basically just explodes into gold dust, which at previous times before this was implied to be McCavity related. But this is really funny, one, because he explodes into gold dust, but also because none of the cats seem to care. And with Skimbleshanks' exit, we have Taylor Swift's entrance, and yes, this is the infamous cat drugging scene. This is just a side note. I wasn't a huge fan of Taylor Swift before this. I didn't have anything against her, but I also, wasn't a huge fan of her. The only songs of hers that I listened to were Love Story and Love Story. This song made me hate Taylor Swift. Anyway, side notes aside. Ha. That aside, why are they drugging everybody, is my question. Idris Elba, who plays McCavity, just, magics people around. At the end of the song, he just magics old dude onto the stage to be like, make me the Jellicle Joyce, and old dude is like, nah, because you're a jerk. And then he just magics them onto the boat. So, why are we drugging the cats in the first place? Also, we've seen a McCavity kidnap people, like Skimbleshanks. He kidnapped Skimbleshanks without even being there, so McCavity didn't even need to be here to take old Deuteronomy. Another thing that happens is that we lose sight of old Deuteronomy. Any shots we see of, the cats trying to escape are all focused on the cats trying to protect Victoria. Where is old Deuteronomy? Have we left her to fend for herself? Screw you, Judi Dench, you're on your own. I'm gonna bring up Lindsay Ellis's video again, which is very bold of me, but because she makes a really good point about how Idris Elba's cat fur is the color of Idris Elba's skin. Idris Elba, not Idris's. What? My point being that up until this point in the film, and this is also going to be a why cats wearing clothes and others not is an issue, because up until this point in the film, every time we have seen McCavity, he has been clothed to the high heavens. He's had a hat, he's had a full body coat on, he's had a scarf, he's just been dressed more than any other cat, except for maybe Jenny Anydots when she unzips her skin to reveal her tap dancing outfit. And when McCavity appears in the song McCavity the Mystery Cat to kidnap old dude, he is devoid of any clothing. And the reaction upon seeing this, every single time, it never gets better. McCavity is completely naked. And the reason I bring up Lindsay Ellis's video is because the fact that his fur is the color of the skin just emphasizes the fact that he is naked more. It also does not help that Idris Elba? I don't know, it's nearing 1 a.m. I'm tired. But it also doesn't help that Idris Elba just has really defined pectorals. So basically, when you see Idris Elba jump down to join in the dance, every part of your brain is screaming that Idris Elba is naked. I'm pretty sure it's at this part in the movie that my body just like leaves my soul for like 5 minutes because I'm just in shock. Like I said, it never gets better. It's only always horrible. Anyway, McCavity yoinks old dude onto the boat, and then he disappears, and I have no idea where he goes. That's a fun thing, is he disappears, and we have no idea where he goes. We don't see him till the very end of the movie. Where were you, McCavity? Come back. Maybe he crawled away on all fours like Jennifer Hudson. And he leaves old dude on the boat, and he tells Growl Tiger, make her walk the plank, and he threatens her off the plank with a little boat oar. And this eventually leads to a fight, which I don't have any problems with, except for the fight is where Rebel Wilson unzips her skin for a second time. Anyway, we go back to the other cats, and they're all like, oh no, old Deuteronomy has been kidnapped. What do we do? And Victoria's like, Mistopheles, you're a magic cat. And Mistopheles is like, oh, no. Because they've been doing this thing with Mistopheles where he's like, like he just doesn't have the confidence to do magic. And so we're going to give him the confidence by singing Magical Mr. Mistopheles. I really enjoy this song. And I highly recommend, if you can, finding the clip of the filmed stage production, only because they do, like, really simple magic tricks, and I enjoy a simple magic trick. I'm easy to entertain. I don't need anything complex. Pull a quarter out of my ear, and I'm wowed for 3 hours. So I only have 2 problems with this scene. No, I take that back. I have 3 problems with this scene. The first one is, and I'm not going to talk about it a lot because the scaling of cats has been talked to death, but this is just a song where you just really, the scaling issues become present again. The second one is, what are the rules of Mistopheles' magic? Like, it's being played as if he's just somebody who lacks the confidence to do magic, but we've seen his magic succeed in just random intervals. Like, even during his song, he's just pulling things out of his hat in a very Mary Poppins-like fashion, yet he still fails to summon old Deuteronomy. So it's just kind of like, what are the rules of his magic? Why does it succeed sometimes but fail in others? My other grievance is that at the very end, Monkey Strap, I believe it's after old Deuteronomy is now back safe and sound, Monkey Strap says, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you magical Mr. Mistopheles, or something like that. I'm not going to get the direct quotes. We've been over this. I'm not watching Cats again. It's Monkey Strap who says this line, but I feel it's Victoria who should say this line because she's the one who's been supporting him throughout the movie. I also just want to take this time to talk about another thing that I like about Cats, and I enjoy the little romance side plot they gave Victoria and Mistopheles. I really enjoyed the actors' chemistry, and I don't know. I like it. No complaints from me. With old Deuteronomy safe and sound, we get to Memory Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. And the home stretch here, give this to me. My big beef with the Reprise of Memory is the fact that they steal Grisabella's agency and her own redemption. I can't quite remember how Grisabella gets into the scene. I believe Victoria leaves and comes back with her. But basically, in the stage show, Grisabella enters and kind of just demands the spotlight, almost. She doesn't leave when any of the cats turn away. She doesn't let herself be scared or harassed away. And all of the cats are just finally like, fine, this is your moment, partly because we need all of the cats to be here to watch her sing the Reprise of Memory. In the movie, like I said, it's Victoria who brings her in, it's Victoria who tells her to sing. So it's not even Grisabella going after her own redemption or forgiveness, it's her being told, hey, this is what you should do. My other thing about this, and this is nitpicky of me, and I only apologize to Jennifer Hudson for this. In the middle of her song, Grisabella collapses, and in the movie she collapses. But in my opinion, in the movie, she stands up too soon. In the stage show, when Grisabella collapses, there's a lull in the song, and it's very much this visceral moment of she is dying. Only for her to lift herself up at the last minute and belt out the words, touch me. And it's this very powerful, emotional moment where Grisabella, but it's this very powerful moment where Grisabella gets her second win and pushes on to the end of the song, and all of the cats are moved by it, and they forgive her, and Deuteronomy says she should be the Jellicle choice. In the movie, Grisabella collapses and Victoria helps her up, which I hate because, again, tying back to it, removes her agency. It's not Grisabella pulling herself up and demanding her second win. It's Victoria pulling her up and telling her to go on. But also, she stands up too soon, in my opinion. So instead of having this sudden last moment burst of energy and second wind, as I've been saying, she just has this moment to collect herself and gather herself before she launches into the belt. And to me, like I said, it's nitpicky, but to me it just doesn't hit as hard. All of that aside, though, I still think she does a great job, and I still think if you watch Cats 2019, it should be for Jennifer Hudson and to watch Skimbleshanks explode into gold dust. Memory Part 2, Electric Boogaloo over. Grisabella is the Jellicle choice. I'm in the home stretch, so I'm just going to kind of speed through here, but... So we have Grisabella getting in the hot balloon to go up to the Heaviside layer. And I will say, I don't hate this choice. I get why they had to do it, so it's fine, I guess. All of the cats go outside, and they stand on the statue they were standing on in the beginning to watch Grisabella float off in the hot air balloon. And as she's floating off in the hot air balloon, McCavity appears again. Like I said, no idea where he was. He's just suddenly here now. And he, last-ditch effort, tries to grab onto the hot air balloon, but he slips off and falls on a different statue. And he tries to magic himself away. And his magic doesn't work. Why does his magic suddenly not work? Is it because it's the daytime and there's no Jellicle moon? For those who don't know, the Jellicle moon is the reason all of the cats have gathered to make the Jellicle choice and have the Jellicle ball. It's a big deal in the cats' lore. Otherwise, honestly, it's because McCavity's the villain and he just has to get his comeuppance, and his comeuppance is he doesn't have his magic. Fine. After this is the infamous Judi Dench stares into the camera for 5 minutes scene. Here's why I hate this. As I mentioned earlier, when you adapt something from one medium to another, you can't do a one-to-one translation. And though Cats still did one-to-one translations of things, one thing they did away with was the fourth wall break that Cats the Stage musical utilized. The purpose of the fourth wall break in Cats the musical was to basically give us a reason to explain things. Because we could break the fourth wall and look at the audience and say, here are people who do not know what we are about, and thus we will explain things and address them directly. The movie, like I said, does away with this. At the beginning of the movie, then, we have no establishment of this narrative like we do at the beginning of the stage show. So all of a sudden, at the very end of the movie, Judi Dench stares dead into the camera for 5 minutes to address the audience when we have never been addressed up until this point. I mean, unless you count James Corden's joke about gathering the cats, but I don't count that. I refuse. It's also just this incredibly hyper-aware moment for me of Judi Dench is staring at me. I am staring at Judi Dench. And Victoria, Mistopheles, and Monkey Strap are all staring at Judi Dench and aggressively reacting to what Judi Dench is saying. It's just a very weird hyper-realization moment for me. We get to the end of the movie, and Judi Dench turns to Victoria and says, I think you really are a Jellicle cat. And I didn't explain this earlier, because it didn't matter, even though I do think it's stupid, is Victoria has this whole thing of, like, but I'm not a Jellicle cat, so, like, how can I, like, participate in these things? Which I guess, like, ties into Beautiful Ghosts being, like, I just want to be accepted and wanted, but, like, at a certain point, she was just basically a Jellicle cat. I'm sorry. But so Judi Dench says, you really are a Jellicle cat, a Jellicle cat. And I hate this, because it's a reference to Jellicle songs for Jellicle cat. There's a section of lyrics that they're like, pedantical cat, dramatical cat, romantical cat, and like all these different cats you can be. And this moment wasn't supposed to be like, there is a mystical cat, there is a dramatic cat, there is a romantic cat, there is a pedantic cat, there is a whatever cat. It was just supposed to be, if you're a Jellicle cat, you could be mystical, you can be dramatic, you can be romantic, like all of these things can make you a Jellicle cat. But nah. Victoria is the idyllical cat, and Mistopheles is the mystical cat, and Bustifer is the gluttonous cat. That's all I got for Cats 2019. Probably just gonna go watch Cats again tomorrow.